Picture this. It's 2026, and a massive 5.5-ton crystal star is slowly hovering over Barcelona, ready to crown the tallest church on the planet. But here's the kicker. This project started 144 years ago. We're talking about a construction site that survived 2 world wars and a literal fire that torched the original blueprints. Most architects build for the next decade. Antoni Gaudí built for the next century. How did a pile of broken plaster and impossible math turn into this 4 foot tall engineering miracle? Let's dive in. When we think of a construction project, we're usually talking about a couple of years, maybe 5 if things get messy. But Sagrada Familia? This is a 144-year-long marathon that is just now reaching the finish line. It's an endurance test disguised as architecture. Antoni Gaudí, the visionary behind it, knew from day one he'd never see it done, famously saying, "My client is not in a hurry." And clearly neither was history. Think about everything that has happened since 1882. Governments have collapsed, a pandemic shut down the world, and 2 world wars completely reshaped the map of Europe. But the church just kept rising, stone by agonizing stone. Then came 1936, the Spanish Civil War. Anarchists broke into Gaudí's workshop, set it on fire, and completely smashed the original plaster models. Decades of research gone in minutes. It wasn't just a physical setback, it was a theoretical knockout. In any other situation, that would have been the absolute end. How do you finish a masterpiece when you don't have the instructions anymore? For a long time, there was this massive elephant in the room. Are we building Gaudí's vision, or are we just improvising on a monumental scale? The fact that it survived at all, let alone became this modern marvel, is a wild engineering miracle. The ultimate question isn't just how they did it, but how they kept the flame alive when everything was telling them to just walk away. To understand why this building is such a mind-bending feat, you have to get inside the head of Antoni Gaudí. Most architects of his time were obsessed with the Gothic look. Think dark, heavy walls and those massive, clunky flying buttresses holding everything up from the outside. But Gaudí, he hated those. He called them crutches and thought they were a design failure. He believed that if God was the ultimate architect, then we should be looking at nature's blueprint, not some dusty textbook. So, he did something radical. He turned the church into a literal forest of stone. When you walk inside, you aren't looking at traditional pillars. You're looking at trunks that branch out into a canopy of leaves 150 feet above your head. But here's the real mad scientist part. To figure out how to keep this massive 4 foot structure from collapsing without using those crutches, Gaudí built what was essentially a low-tech supercomputer made of string and lead buckshot. He created these intricate funicular models by hanging chains upside down from the ceiling. Gravity pulled those strings into perfect catenary curves, the most efficient way to distribute weight. He'd then take a photo, flip it right side up, and boom, he had the perfect structural map for his arches. It was an analog algorithm, a way to calculate physics before digital computers even existed. He wasn't just building a house of worship, he was translating the organic logic of a tree into a language of stone. It's this weird, beautiful blend of high-level mathematics and raw biology that makes the Sagrada Familia feel less like a building and more like a living, breathing organism. In the world of high-stakes architecture, it's usually a race to the top. We're talking about developers and cities constantly trying to outdo each other with the next tallest building in the world title. But Gaudí, he had a completely different ego. He was playing a different game entirely. Even as he was designing the Tower of Jesus Christ, which, by the way, is a massive 4 foot spire that's set to make Sagrada Familia the tallest religious structure on earth, he made a very deliberate, very humble choice. He looked at Montjuic, the famous hill that overlooks the Barcelona harbor, and he made sure his masterpiece stayed exactly 1 meter shorter than that peak. To Gaudí, that wasn't a design flaw, it was a statement. He believed that no man-made creation should ever dare to overshadow the work of the great architect above. In his mind, Montjuic was God's architecture, and it would be the height of arrogance to build something even an inch taller than what nature provided. It's this fascinating paradox that really hits you when you look at the skyline. You have this genius who was bold enough to reinvent the entire concept of a cathedral, yet humble enough to bow down to a hill. It tells you everything you need to know about the man. He wasn't building for fame or to break records in some history book. He was building a bridge between the human and the divine. That 1-meter gap is a powerful reminder that, despite all our 21st century tech and our massive cranes, there's still a line we don't cross. It's a bit of soul baked into the limestone, making the building feel less like a monument to human ego and more like a quiet conversation with the planet itself. So, here's the million-dollar question. How do you finish a 19th century masterpiece when the guy who designed it has been gone for 100 years and his original plans were torched in a war? For a long time, the answer was painfully slowly. We're talking about old-school stonemasons chipping away by hand, a process so glacial, it looked like the building would never actually cross the finish line. But then, the 21st century showed up, and the team made a high-stakes pivot that changed everything. They went full-on high-tech industrial. Welcome to the era of prefabrication. Instead of trying to carve these complex, alien-like shapes on site at the top of a windy scaffolding, the engineers moved the heavy lifting to a massive off-site factory. They started using 3D printing and advanced aeronautical software to digitally glue those smashed plaster fragments back together, basically solving a 3D jigsaw puzzle from hell. Once they had the digital blueprints, they handed the reins to giant CNC machines. These robotic cutters slice through solid stone with a precision of about 1/25 of an inch that's thinner than a credit card. The result? Pure insanity. They began assembling these massive stone modules, some weighing up to 10 tons on the ground, then simply trucking them in and hoisting them into place like a giant set of Legos. This tech leap didn't just help, it accelerated the construction speed by a staggering 16 times. It's this wild juxtaposition where you have a cathedral that looks like it grew out of the earth, but it's being built with the same precision and assembly line logic as a Tesla or a SpaceX rocket. It's the only reason we aren't waiting another 200 years to see the cranes finally come down. Now, if you look at the Sagrada Familia from the street, it looks like this ancient, organic mountain of stone that's been there forever. But don't let the old world aesthetics fool you. Underneath that fossilized skin, there is a secret high-tech skeleton that would make a skyscraper engineer jealous. You see, when you're building spires that reach over 550 feet into the sky, you aren't just fighting gravity or dar, you're fighting the wind. Barcelona gets some serious gusts coming off the Mediterranean, and stone, for all its strength, is surprisingly brittle. It doesn't like to bend, it likes to crack. To fix this, the engineering team came up with a James Bond-level solution: post-tension steel. Inside those massive 10-ton stone blocks we talked about, there are precisely drilled cores. They threaded high-strength steel cables, think of them as the building's tendons, straight through the center of the stone. Once the blocks are stacked, they pull those cables incredibly tight, putting the entire structure under massive compression. It basically turns a pile of individual stones into one solid, rigid bone. It's a total game changer because it allows the towers to be hollow and light on the inside, but tough enough to withstand a literal hurricane on the outside. This is the ultimate architectural cheat code. You're looking at a building that wears the soul of a 19th century cathedral, but possesses the mechanical spine of a modern suspension bridge. It's this invisible marriage of stone and steel that allows the Sagrada Familia to pull off the impossible, staying upright, flexible, and rock solid all at the same time, without a single visible support beam in sight. It's pure engineering magic disguised as art. After all the talk about steel tendons and robotic stonecutters, you'd think the Sagrada Familia is just a cold machine of a building. But when you step inside, all that engineering noise just fades away. You realize Gaudi wasn't just playing with rocks. He was playing with your emotions, using the most powerful tool in the universe, light. This isn't your typical dark, moody cathedral where you need a flashlight to see the altar. Gaudi designed this place to be a literal symphony of color. He set it up like a massive 360-degree optical clock. On the east side, where the sun rises, the stained glass windows are flooded with deep blues and crisp greens. It feels cold, fresh, and full of that morning energy. But as the sun arches over the roof and starts its descent into the west, the entire mood of the church shifts. Suddenly, the interior is washed in these fiery oranges, blood oranges, and deep crimson reds. It's a sunset trapped in glass. And get this, he even used the structural materials to double down on the drama. Those massive central columns, they aren't made of ordinary granite. They're carved from red porphyry, an insanely dense volcanic rock from Iran that's tough enough to shoulder a staggering 6,000 tons of weight. But because of its natural hue, when that afternoon light hits those pillars, they look like they're glowing from the inside out. It's a masterclass in visual storytelling. You aren't just standing in a room, you're caught in a living, breathing transition between day and night. It's the moment where the 144 years of grit and the millions of dollars in tech finally pay off, reminding you that at the end of the day, all this math was really just for the sake of beauty. So at the end of the day, Sagrada Familia teaches us one big thing. The most beautiful things in life aren't built overnight. In a world obsessed with instant everything, this church is a 144-year reminder that greatness takes patience, and a vision can outlive the visionary. It's about planting seeds for trees you'll never sit under. Was this century-long journey worth the wait? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button to join our community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.